Thanks for coming today. My name is Nowacki. I'm a professor of political science at Linfield College. I teach comparative politics and international relations. Anyone who's interested in comparative politics cannot help but pay attention to what's been happening in the Middle East this past spring. While these uprisings aren't finished yet, it's very interesting to note the similarities across the countries and also the differences. We don't really know what the trajectories of these are going to be, the final outcome are going to be yet. We had two successful revolutions, one in Egypt and one in Tunisia, at least to the extent that they got rid of their dictatorships. But now a lot of questions remain open. One of the things that I've been interested in terms of my own research, is the representation of women in official politics. And I've studied women becoming elected in various parliaments across the world. And I became interested in the Middle East several years ago, and then I was really excited to see that this spring, women were in the forefront of these protests all across the region. And you could see them in various roles. They were in leadership roles, they were in organizing roles, they were in support roles. A lot of women contributed to making food and bringing clean water and blankets and things to Tahrir Square in Egypt. And they are in the organizing cadres of the young people who are making these uprisings. They are very savvy about new media and about using Facebook and Twitter to make their demands and their strategies, go viral. So I wanted to find out more about what was going on there firsthand, and I had the opportunity to go to a faculty development seminar in Amman, Jordan in June. We got the chance to meet with many women who are in different professional and other kinds of roles. They were giving us insights into various aspects of women's lives, such as health, education, their job prospects. I will say that Jordan, in comparative perspective, has a very high rate of literacy, despite the fact that they are one of the poorer countries. They're not an oil producer in the Middle East, and so their economic situation is very dire. It's also interesting to note that across the Middle East, at least from 30 to 40% of the whole population are below the age of 25. And this is true of Jordan as it is of all countries in the Middle East. So this is a structural kind of issue that has an impact on politics. How are these young people going to be employed? What kind of jobs are they going to be able to do? And this is one of the things that was motivating them into these protests this spring. I want to say strongly that I think that democracy cannot be achieved in the Middle East if 50% of the population is left out, and that would be women. I know that in the West we've got a lot of myths and stereotypes about women being in the private space. In the Middle East, we have images of them being covered up, of not speaking, of not raising their voices, not speaking out about their needs, or about violence that's been perpetrated against them. But I'm here to tell you that there are many, many women across the Middle East in all of these countries who are fighting for their rights and who are fighting to participate in the public sphere and to achieve reform right across the region. I'd like to give you a few examples from my experience in Jordan. The first is a woman who lives in a Bedouin camp about 3 miles south of Amman. Her name is Sheikha, which means camel, which is a great name if you're a Bedouin. It means that she's strong and conscientious and reliable. She and a collective of women there are growing thyme, which is an herb that they'll sell in the market in Amman, and they're bringing in money to their communities. So their menfolk think that this is a great thing, that they're adding to the economy of their village. So they look upon it favorably. Sheikha is someone who is very articulate. She's been recognized for her work by USAID. She's contributing to a school in her village. All of these women are who grow this crop to sell. The next woman I want to give you an example of, I was going to say about Sheikha, you know that she's covered. She's wearing the niqab, which is the face covering. They're segregated from men very strictly. There's a women's side of the tent and a men's side of the tent. The men get fed first, the women eat after everyone else. And so the social roles are very still segregated, but at the same time, change is happening here because she is leading other women in bringing in money, making money, having a profession, not being inside the home. So the second woman I want to talk about, she was instrumental in organizing our meetings with all these other women. This is Rula Huwais. She's a professor of English at the University of Jordan, who is kind of one person at a time making young women think in terms of I, rather than in terms of community or family, from a communal kind of society to someone who says, I have dreams, I want this, I have a voice, I should be represented, I should be a politician. So Rula has been instrumental in teaching young women that this is okay to do, even though it's a very courageous thing to do in a still traditional and conservative society. Rula, you can see, is uncovered. This is what a professional woman looks like in their 40s or 50s or so in Jordan. Most of them are uncovered. My last example would be Lina Ojalat. She is a blogger. She and her fellow editor there are, with a small group of people, running a website called Iber. It's 7iber.com if you'd like to look them up. They keep track of all of the different events going on in Jordan, from the arts to politics. They are incredible in terms of what they've been able to do as far as spread the word and to create public spaces where people can come and talk about politics, either online or in person. They have started what's called hashtag debates, where they speak about different issues facing Jordanian society, political issues that don't really get aired in public by the official media. Even though the king in Jordan is reformist, there are many questions in Jordanian society about whether reform is occurring fast enough, and especially among the young people. Lina Ojalat is the face of change in Jordan. She is going to be out in the forefront of what happens politically, and in terms of spreading the word, in terms of organizing and networking with others right across the Middle East. She's the face, I believe, of future democracy. One thing that's happened in the Tunisian and the Egyptian revolutions is that while women were out organizing and were in the midst of protests, very few were named to the transitional councils, actually none in Egypt. And what's happening is that even though women are saying, we need to be represented, we want to be represented, they're being left out of the current negotiations with the military and across society. As I say, I don't believe that true democracy can be achieved if half the population is left out or is marginalized. To the extent that women are included, democracy is achieved. Thank you.